This is Real Politics.
Hello. Hi. Welcome to Real Politics. I'm Roman Bettis, your host. It's going sort of solo today. Myra should be coming in a moment. She's just getting home a little bit late, but she'll be here. Welcome to Real Politics live. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/realpolitics. And or if you haven't already liked our page, I'm sure you've already liked it, but just in case you haven't, make sure you like our page and make sure you turn on live video notifications at facebook.com/realpoliticslive. And you can follow us on Twitter at realpolitics. At twitter.com/realpolitics. Today we have Mr. Mario Reyna. Mr. Mario Reyna is running for city commissioner in Mcallen for District 3 against an incumbent of Commissioner Omar Quintanilla, and he has another opponent, Miss Telma Tamez, as of right now. Those are you, District 3 for District 3, I guess. Hello, Mr. Reyna. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Thank you for having me on your show.
You're very welcome. Thank you for coming. And I want to do a shout out to all of the Mcallen commission candidates and mayoral candidates who have actually been willing to come on the show to help the people in Mcallen learn about Mcallen, but also help out the Rio Grande Valley learn more about Mcallen, because Mcallen is the second largest city in the valley, but is the largest city in the hub of Hidalgo County. So, Mr. Reyna, do you mind letting us know a little bit about yourself and who you are and why you're running?
Absolutely. I was born and raised in Mission, Texas. So I went to school, all the elementary schools there. Obviously, I moved around during my childhood. I lived in Elsa and Edinburgh and whatnot. But in 1976, I joined the Air Force. And so you go through the typical process. You go to basic military training school. And then from there, you go to your permanent duty station. I went to Vandenberg Air Force Base, which is in California. And that's where I completed most of my education, my bachelor's degree and whatnot. And then after that, I went across the country. I was in Corpus Christi. I was in Loring Air Force Base in Maine. I went to Spain for 4 years. I came back to Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio. And then I finished my career at Fort Walton Beach in Florida at the Hurlburt Field. It's an Air Force base, but they call it a field because it's smaller than a base. Mm-hmm. And that particular field was attached to Mcallen Air Force Base. So that's terminology, but that's why they call it a field.
I did not know that, so I'm glad you told me that.
Well, there's a base, a field, a station. So everything. There's a reason. It has to do with numbers. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so then after I left the Air Force, in at the end of 1995, I came to Mcallen and started working with South Texas College in September of 1996, and I stayed there until January of last year, 2020. So I think I was at STC like 23 years. When I arrived at STC, the position was the director of the Division of Business. And when I left, I was the dean for business, public safety, and technology. And I was also the campus administrator at the technology campus. So I've done a few things. I've been around the world a couple of times. And why do I want to do this? For one thing, obviously, I love the community that I live in. I have lived in Mcallen since 2006. I enjoy being involved in civic activities. I've been involved with the chambers, economic development organizations, the Valley Symphony. I was involved with the Get the Vote Out. So I do a lot of things in the community. So I just want to continue doing things in the community. And this is just another step in being more involved with the citizens of Mcallen.
The guys, those of you that are watching us right now on live, please subscribe, not subscribe, but please share this live stream for people I'm pretty sure not everybody lives in Mcallen, but I know you all have friends and family that live in Mcallen, and we'll probably be able to enjoy this conversation we're going to have. And if you'd like to have any questions for Mr. Reyna, he's obviously open to answer any of your questions or concerns or comments, so please feel free to do it while we do the live. Mr. Reyna, usually the first question I try to ask is what is the number one issue for you as a candidate? You know, that you are running against an incumbent, and it's always challenging to run against an incumbent. I've actually run against an incumbent, so it can be very challenging and difficult. So what is the number one reason, or what number one issue for you as a candidate for District 3?
You know, I think what I want to say here is I'm doing this not because I'm running against a candidate. I'm running because there's things that I believe in. And the three things that I am promoting, running on, is the idea of prosperity, the idea of making Mcallen a destination city, and the idea that we can all have a better quality of life. I can tell you what all those things mean if you want me to.
Sure. I mean, you're the business expert. I am not the business expert. Don't even get me started talking about stocks. I know nothing.
You know, I mean, I think all of us will agree that if we can be prosperous, we're going to be happy. No doubt. Right. If all of us have jobs that pay sufficient wages to have the livelihood that we all want to have a house, a car, and go to places where we want to go, that is a sign of prosperity. And the only way you can become prosperous is, first of all, you know, you got to have a tax base that is not killing you. Okay. Right. So you got to make sure that the taxes don't go up. You have to make sure that your police department keeps crime down, because if you have a high crime area, what happens? No one shows up. No one wants to live in your community. So you got to have a police department like the one Mcallen has. I don't know if you've seen the numbers in Mcallen, but they're extremely low. Yeah, very low. So I credit that to the chief of police in Mcallen. You have a fire department that responds on time every time. So you have a couple of group of professionals that are the key to prosperity. Obviously, taxes, you got to keep taxes down. The property tax, cities run on property tax mainly. Obviously, retail tax and those kind of things. But if you don't have to pay a huge city tax, well, that I want to go there. So those are some of the things about prosperity. So you get some of the ingredients involved, and then companies begin to come to your place. And when companies begin to come to your place, then there's jobs, wages go up, and everybody's happy. So the idea of becoming a destination city. I think most of you probably have been to Disney World, probably, or San Antonio, the Riverwalk, someplace where you think is fun. All right. So why not make Mcallen a destination place? Right. It can be done. You know, so we're looking at a situation here where we need to plan to see what are the activities that we want in Mcallen. 10 years from now, I'm not talking about right now, but 10 years from now, Hidalgo County will have 2 million people. Do you think 2 million people can support a theme park? Do you think 2 million people can support, pro sports? Do you think you can have opera? Do you think you can have a huge symphony? Broadway shows? We do some of that now, but imagine what's going to happen 10 years from now. So we need to think beyond right now into the future. So to make it a destination city, you need to have all those things. Think about San Antonio. If you go to San Antonio, I go to San Antonio almost every other week. Right. Why do I go there? Well, it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah. Their tacos are not as good, though. Let's just go there. Yeah, their tacos are not as good. And I will ask you a very special taco question there in the rapid fire. Okay, sorry to interrupt.
They have great, great restaurants. Although right now with the COVID environment, but all the restaurants are open in San Antonio for the most part. I mean, they have pro sports, but you can't. I guess in order to get into the basketball game, you need to be. Show that you've been free tested in the last 3 days. But that's my point, that you need those kind of attractions to make it a destination city. Right. The other issue is a lot of people go to Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, or medical situations. We need to create an environment where we have our medical facilities where people don't have to fly over us. There's no reason to go to San Antonio. There's no reason to go to Houston if we create a medical environment where we have all the doctors that are needed, all the facilities that are needed for people to stay here. A lot of people fly over us from Mexico. They're going someplace else to get their medical treatment. This could be the place where they do it. I don't know if you've been to San Antonio. You have seen the huge medical complex in San Antonio. I mean, they have hospitals galore. Any kind of situation that you might have, they have a hospital for it. Houston, the same thing. So, I mean, that's what we need to think about. You know, I'm not talking about right now. I'm telling you to think about down the future. And the other idea of a better quality of life. So what does that mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what will give you a better quality of life? Well, I'm talking about making sure we have the best parks in the world, making sure we have a hiking bike situation, making sure that people understand that if you have a bike lane, for example, you don't get into it.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about bike lanes in a little while. You don't want my position on bike lane.
You know, so the things that give you a better quality of life, those are the things that we're going to promote. Those are the things that we're going to talk about. You know, everything around you is safe. Everything around you is accessible. There's no reason to complain about anything. That gives people a better quality of life. Obviously, to have a great quality of life, you have to be prosperous at the same time. Otherwise, all this mechanism doesn't work. You know, if you don't have the income to do the things that I'm talking about, you know, obviously the quality of life is not going to be there. So you have to be prosperous. You have where people have jobs, they can work, and then everything else will fall in place.
All right. Claudia, we have got a few comments. Let me get to them if that's okay with you. Claudia is saying, has the mayor, he's not a mayor, he's a candidate for city commission, but it's okay. Heard of the Gathering Park in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I think he should look into it. It would be amazing to have one like that here in the Valley.
I have been to Tulsa several times, and the only thing I remember about Tulsa to a concert, and it was a big basketball auditorium. I do not remember Gathering Park, but I will look into it.
The idea, I would vote for this guy if I lived in Mcallen. Wow, you're quick. Y'all are quick. Has Mr. Reyna read all the books that are behind him?
I have. You know, those are the books when I went to college, and those are the books that I read. You know, I'm not. I've been around a few years, so I've had a lot of chance to read books. Yeah.
Oh, so it's not a fake bookcase like some people have. And I'll be honest, I have quite a few books I have not read. They're literally in plastics, and the only reason I haven't read them is because, well, I just didn't need to read them. I had things come up.
Let me tell you this, Roman. I used to teach one class in the afternoons when I was with SDC, and I would ask the students, "Have you read the chapter?" And obviously, a lot of them have not. And then I would ask them, Google and find out how many pages this individual, that's a multi-billion, I can't remember his name right now, but this individual would read about 500 to 800 pages a day. And so they would say to me, you know, I can't read that many pages. And say, well, if you cannot read that many pages, then you're not going to be like this individual that's a multi-billionaire. So anyway, so I would tell him when I was going to college that I would read the entire book before I would go to class. And if you're not, there's a difference between being a student and a pupil. Right. A pupil goes to class and that's it, but a student is a student. So that's the idea. So yes, I had a lot of chance to read.
No, I actually teach in Mcallen. It's the university I teach at has 2 satellite campuses here in the Valley, and so I make all of my students have to read their book. They don't like it, but they do read it, and they do a good job. I make sure that they read every single chapter, and I quiz them in every single chapter, and they enjoy it. At the end of the day, that's what you want our students to do. So yeah, I'm glad that you make them read.
I had a brain freeze, but the individual that I was referring to is Warren Buffett. I think you probably. Yeah. Warren Buffett reads between 500 to 800 pages a day. So.
I'm curious what he thinks of what happened with GameStop and Robin Hood, and we're not going to get into that conversation, I guess. You know, the Valley has about 1.4 million people, according to the last census. We're looking at getting even more because we have about 1 million people that live in Hidalgo County. You have about 500,000 people that live in Cameron County, and a little bit, you know, fewer in Stark County. and Willacy County. So the valley is a lot bigger. That's why we have the MPO and the RGV MPO, which is good. It's going to allow for different projects. The RGV MPO has looked at one project in Hidalgo County that they want to get funded, and two in Cameron County. The one in Cameron County is actually the second causeway for the island, and the other is the East Loop in Brownsville. And the other is the one in Hidalgo has to do, I guess, with the loop. What is your feelings on the RGV MPO? What might that do and benefit Mcallen? And what is your goal for putting potentially people from Mcallen to represent you all on the RGV MPO?
I'm reading something there.
Oh, sorry. Well, we'll get to yeah. Good evening, Mr. Mario Reyna. How are you and your family doing? Hey, Roy. How you doing, Roy? Thanks for joining us again. Roy's a good guy.
I mean, you got to have a great transportation system to move things around. One of the reasons perhaps that we are not as developed economically is because we do not have a better transportation system. I'm talking about railroads also. You got to have all the ingredients, all the transportation modes in order to move things. If you cannot move things, you don't circulate any money. So, I mean, right now, we're planning here in Hidalgo the loop around the county, but that's going to be like a 40-year project. Okay, it's going to take a while. So yes, I mean, the merger of those two entities will make sure that the right dollars are at the right place to make sure that the transportation systems continue to be developed. I mean, right now here in Mcallen, for example, they finished a little track there on I-2, and now they're going to look at the interchange where the one that changes from I-2 to 281. So that's going to be a hassle there when the construction starts. So that you can imagine, how this is going to disrupt the traffic flows. But I lived in San Antonio for 3 years, and during those 3 years, 410, they call it 410 loop, it was always under construction. Guess what? 410 and 1604 in San Antonio are always under construction.
It never ends. It never ends.
It never ends. But look at what San Antonio has done with their transportation system. I mean, there was a point where between 410 and I-10, you would have to go through access road to get into I-10. Now they have a super freeway system, almost like LA, like Los Angeles. So San Antonio has done great, and we will do something like that eventually.
Yeah, hopefully. Roy is asking, when you served in the Air Force, what was your best and worst time in the Air Force, Mr. Reyna?
Yes, thank you, Roy. I cannot say I had a bad time. Imagine that you're a young man and they send you to California. I'm in Pismo Beach. I'm in Gaviota Beach. The base was between Pismo and Santa Barbara. And if you can visualize that the country, the state, how it looks, it's a beautiful place. So California was a fantastic assignment. I went from there. I went to Corpus Christi. I love Corpus Christi.
Yeah.
From there, I went to Loring Air Force Base. Loring Air Force Base is on the border of Canada, and the most beautiful forest that you can imagine. Lots of snow. I mean, this is something that was foreign to me. You had snow. It started to snow like the 3rd of October of 1985, and it stopped snowing like in April of 1986.
Wow, that's amazing. I don't think I could put up with that. My bones couldn't handle that.
So even though at Loring Air Force Base you had minus 50-degree temperature with the wind chill factor. Okay, it was still fun. It was a lot of fun. So imagine from there you go to Zaragoza, Spain. What is there not to love about Zaragoza, Spain?
The food? The food's going to be great there, I imagine.
Everything was fantastic. I went to every corner in Spain, Pamplona, Bilbao, you name it, Madrid, what the heck is that? Valencia. I went to
I'm assuming Barcelona.
To
Granada.
Granada. I went to Barcelona. I went everywhere in Spain. I was there for 4 years. And then from Spain, you come back to San Antonio. And of course, I love San Antonio. I was there for 3 years. And then they send you on this horrible assignment to Fort Walton Beach, Florida. Give me a break.
Yeah, you're just having a blast. Like, why wouldn't you want to do the Air Force? It's just the war is not the problem. But I want to go there now.
That was my last base, and it was absolutely beautiful. So okay, so if I had to say what, maybe when I was going through basic military training school, because I was enlisted and then I became an officer. Maybe when I was doing that, because it was, it was maybe tougher than the ordinary day. OTS, officer training school, was not a cakewalk, so maybe that was tough, but it was not. It was tough physically, but that's about it.
Hey, Jessica, how you doing? Doug from Affleck, he's not running for mayor. Doug, he's running for city commissioner, District 3. That is position he's running for. So I'm going to say, as commissioner, will you seek to create any new relationships with other nearby cities, or will you seek to make Mcallen a more independent entity on its own? And what would take your priority of those two? It's a good question, Doug.
Yeah, we cannot be. There's no one that is independent. We depend on everybody and everything. We cannot exist as an independent nation. When I say independent, that we want to do everything by ourselves, it doesn't work that way. We have to have friends, allies, and what have you. So no, I think, I know all the mayors in the local area. I think we need to work with them. We need to have a regional approach to the things that we do. San Antonio, when I go back to San Antonio and Houston, they're big cities, so they don't have to worry about, Mission, Edinburgh, Mcallen, and FAR, having some kind of different priorities. I mean, it's a big city, so they have one big priority. So I think we need to see everything as a regional situation so we can better ourselves. And I'm talking about everything, when it comes to economic development, when it comes to building assets, when I say about an asset, maybe we will get a big attraction similar to Six Flags. Where will it be? It doesn't really matter where, it's good if it's in Mcallen, but it can be in Edinburgh, it can be in FAR, it can be in Mission, but it's an asset that belongs to the community. And that by itself is going to make everybody a destination city. So yes, it's good to compete, but at the same time, I think we need to realize that we need each other, and we do think doing everything on the regional approach.
And that's a positive aspect. We're with Mr. Mario Reyna. He's running for City Commission District 3 in Mcallen. Do you, by any chance, know the boundaries of District 3? What area? What is special about District 3? And what you want to improve about District 3?
Yeah, so business. District 3 is, if you're familiar, is Business 83, Taylor, all the way to Nolana, and then 23rd all the way to Nolana. So what do I want to do? I mean, obviously, I'm looking at improving the parks that we have here, improving, making sure that the streets are a little bit cleaner, and whatever else the community wants. I mean, those are the things that when you look at the District 3, you want things for them. I mean, obviously, you want better drainage, you want better parks, you want better streets, all those things. So that's what I'm looking for. But at the same time, I'm thinking about Mcallen. What are the things that we want to do for Mcallen? And the things that I think I want to do for Mcallen are the things that I talked about: prosperity, destination city, and a great quality of life.
Yeah. We're finally joined with Myra.
Hi, Myra.
Myra Gutierrez. She is actually a resident of Mcallen. She cannot vote for you in your race because she lives in a different district. So she has a lot of concerns about Mcallen. One of the things I know she's going to ask about is going to be coronavirus. That's going to be one. And the other one will be about hike and bike trails.
You were just talking about it.
No, we were talking about parks and things like that. Without you being here, that's wonderful. So I'm going to let Myra ask a question. But before I do, guys, make sure you share the feed for us. Help us out. Make sure we get enough information about Mr. Reyna as possible, as we do for every candidate that comes on our show. And a reminder, we will be doing a late show after this show at 11:30. Myra will have her microphone by that point, and we will be most definitely talk national politics. But like I like to do with the Real Politics Live, is talk a little bit more local politics and issues. So hopefully y'all can join us for the 11:30 show for Real Talk, Real Late. Yeah, Myra, your question.
Okay. Yes, I've been asking all the candidates this question because like Roman says, I am a resident in Mcallen. And one of my biggest concerns, and one of the things that has sat me, through this whole pandemic, is I live right off of 10th Street. So 10th Street is the street that I travel on the most. And you know how we have all this Lester's Risk, all these little strip plazas. And the more months we got into COVID, the more for lease signs I saw. There was a lot of small businesses shutting down. And my biggest question is, we're going from 75% capacity. Now they want to bring it down to 50%. I don't know if they did already. And our businesses are suffering. So what are we going to do? When is this going to end? I mean, we hear now that California is opening up, New York is opening up, or is it Chicago? I mean, the places where it was mostly, the biggest places where it was mostly impacted, now they're opening up. What about us? I mean, what's going to happen to the future of Mcallen and our businesses?
Well, I think we're fortunate to live in Texas, and Texas has not taken the same attitude like California and New York initially. But right now, New York and California, they're opening up for 100% indoor dining and what have you. So here in Mcallen, I mean, Myra, you go to the restaurants, we're okay. I think the restaurants are operating and normally. So, when you talk about prosperity, that's what I'm talking about. That I dreaded this idea when people were saying you need to close things down, because there's consequences when you close things down. People get laid off, and then things do not work as well. The areas that are not completely open right now are sports. The major entertainment. Yes, I went to this event tonight at the Performing Arts Center in Mcallen. But in the rows, you can only have like 2 people per row, and so everything was blocked off. So it's fine. So we have a situation where limited people go in, but in order for the economy to get back to where it used to be, we need to open everything up. We need to be able to bring the shows back, the basketball, the football, the soccer. I don't know if I've heard that the movies are open, but I haven't gone to the movies in such a long time. I don't even see cars when I go by the theater. So, but at the same time, I realize why it's happening, because people are concerned, and I appreciate that. People are concerned. And so how do you take that concern away? I think the people need to be reminded that if you follow the steps, you wear a mask, you clean your hands, and you keep a distance, that you can still live a normal life. I'm living a normal life. I go out every morning. I go to restaurants, different restaurants to have breakfast. I go to different places every day to have lunch. I take the precautions. So I encourage people, do what they tell you to do, and go support your local business. I went to the mall, I think maybe last week, and you can drive a Freightliner. A Freightliner is a truck. You can drive a Freightliner through the mall, and you won't hit anybody.
Wow.
It's empty. Myra, do you go to the mall?
I don't like going to the mall. I'm
you see what I mean?
But I went.
Myra doesn't go to the mall.
No, but she goes shopping like crazy.
I've never been to. I even in regular times, I'm not a mall person. I like the small boutiques. I buy my clothes at small boutiques, or if anything, TJ Maxx, or the smaller stores. But I did go during the holidays, during Christmas, to the malls, and it wasn't what it was. And then you have places where there was lines and lines because there's limited people just going into the stores. They weren't allowing, the regular people, the amount of people that used to go in. But like, people are living in so much fear that it's yes, be afraid, but be cautious. Instead of being afraid, be cautious. Turn that fear into cautiousness and self-responsibility. Yeah.
No, so basically you have all this business people, and the mall being one of the big businesses. I mean, they are bleeding money left and right. So I mean, they can, they have a bigger equity than most companies, but when you look at the small mom and pop that Myra is talking about, they have to close down. A lot of places close down. And so it's not so much because the virus here in our environment, we close the traffic from Mexico.
Yeah.
And that has consequences. And until that bridge is opened up again, and I guess it'll open up for everybody, it's probably going to be sometime maybe March, although they're saying in February, but I doubt it's going to be in February.
I'm curious about what your ideas are for the sales tax dollars, because it seems that sales tax dollars are at about on par as they normally would, even without the Mexican travelers, and that's valley-wide. Are you not seeing this in Mcallen?
It's you're right. You're right. It's about the same, but I think that people are staying local.
Which is good for us. I mean, it shows that we're able to sustain our own economy, which I think is a positive thing for the Rio Grande Valley. So
they're staying local. There's a lot of stimulus checks coming down, and so I don't know about you, but one thing that in my own home, I realized that we don't do as many things that we used to do, so we don't spend as much.
Yeah, we've been hearing that a lot.
Yeah.
I've actually spent more.
Yeah, you're opposite of everybody else, Myra.
I started going out. I'm sorry. I started going out more, traveling more. The flights were so cheap.
Why not go, right?
I went to Alaska in September. Okay. The round trip from Mcallen to Anchorage, Alaska was like $300.
Wow.
Can you imagine? If I would have driven to Alaska, it would have been $1,000. The gasoline.
Yeah.
It was $300.
Yeah, I flew to Pennsylvania and it was 140 round trip in May.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now I want to do that, but I'm scared. Yeah, they do need the money. Miss Producer said, I forgot that she's been commenting, so I apologize. She would like the theme park in Edinburgh. I guess she likes Edinburgh, and she says she online shops and it gets pricey doing that stuff. Yeah, that's why you shop local.
Yeah. Well, you do online shopping, and all we're doing is making Jeff Bezos very rich. He's the richest guy in the world.
Yeah, the boutique that I go to went online. I mean, they had an online, website or whatever, but a lot of people were shopping online with them. But the sizes in boutiques are so different that you have to go in and try it, and it's just.
Yeah, obviously, I encourage people to do what's right, and maybe online shopping is right. It's convenient, might be a cheaper price, but I highly encourage everybody to support your local businesses, because if we don't support them, then bad things begin to happen.
That's true. Randy Serta was saying, good stuff, Mr. Reyna. And I didn't get Elvela's comment. She said, instead of being afraid, turn that fear into self-responsibility. And I agree with that. One of the questions that I have not asked a single candidate, and it's my fault, but I'm going to ask you, so don't be, hopefully you don't are okay with the question. The relationship between a city and a school district is very important. And living in Brownsville, I'm seeing this at our level, where you have a city, the commissioner, for example, complaining about the safety precautions at the school district and saying that teachers should stay home and not be able to work and these kinds of, the national issues coming at a local level. What do you see as potentially a city commissioner and a member of the city commission should be relationship between you and the school district in Mcallen? Well,
the school district is an independent body, they have their own elected officials. So they determine what's best for their political entity. So, I mean, can we talk about it? Sure. But it's their decision, how they're going to operate their school. Can we talk about it? Sure. We can talk about it. But at the end of the day, they have a board, and that board is going to make decisions. And those decisions are going to be based on input that they get from the community. So at the end of the day, that's how it works.
Right. Understand.
So I'm not going to be one that's going to be screaming at a school board member or the superintendent. I don't think you get anything done that way.
Right.
I think you can encourage people to say, "Hey, what about this idea? Have you thought about this?"
Mm-hmm.
And after having a discussion, if they still want to go along with that idea, well, at least you had that opportunity to talk to them about that idea.
Yeah, you're saying things that make sense, and that's one reason why I think Mcallen is so prosperous. And not to be negative about the city I live in, but it seems like it's kind of dysfunctional in so many ways. And so I applaud you for making that kind of a statement as a candidate. I don't know usually compliment candidates, but I'm going to compliment you on that one because it made sense. You allow them to do their job as much as you possibly can. You work where you can, and that's what you're supposed to do. Let me get. I can think. Is there a comment or anything like that, Miss Producer? At all that's come in? None? I want to make sure I don't lose a discussion, the distribution of COVID-19 vouchers. Oh, that's a good question. In Cameron County, unlike Hidalgo County, Cameron County, we've had a situation. It might have appeared in the Monitor. I don't know. I know it appeared in the Brownsville Herald on their website, on on my RGV website that is now a combination with 3 newspapers of the Valley. And there was a situation where you had political elected officials, in this case in Cameron County, you had a county judge, and the 4 county commissioners have vouchers to give out to the community as they see fit or saw fit, for people to get a voucher and get ahead of the line as opposed to doing it online. Do you think, obviously this isn't happening in Hidalgo County, but do you think that this is something that would be a positive for Hidalgo County? Is this something you would like to see in Hidalgo County? And if not, which I'm assuming it's going to be a no on both occasions, what would you like to see in terms of getting distribution of vaccines? How would you see it being improved, not just as a candidate, but maybe as an individual?
Well, I mean, there's particular guidelines on how this should be working right now. It's supposed to be for, folks over 65, individuals that have a particular chronic condition, and obviously this vaccine is not being given to young people. So if you're 17 or 16, I don't know that you want to be vaccinated because it's not a requirement. So I think whatever the CDC is saying, whatever the governor is saying, I mean, those are the rules that we should be following. And I'm lucky that I fit one of those rules.
Have you gotten the vaccine at all, or yes?
Yeah.
Oh,
but I went to San Antonio, and I took it over there at with the medical school in San Antonio. And it was. I hear stories how it goes here in the Valley, but I went. I showed up. There was no one in front of me. They gave me my shot. In less than 25 minutes, I was out.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I hear stories that people wait in line hours. That was not my experience. That was not my experience.
Charlie, our other co-host, Charlie, he's in Bronzeville. He went to go get the vaccine. He went. I think he said he got there like at 5 a.m. up until like 2 p.m. And 4 cars ahead of him, they had already stopped. He didn't get it all those hours, and he didn't get the.
It's shameful that we're not able to do that. And I made this comment on Twitter to a reporter, I guess one of the news stations, like, why is this happening here and not other than my one word is Democrats, and that is our leadership. And I know this is not a partisan race, but we have poor dysfunctional leadership throughout the Valley that's not able to handle this for some reason. And we have problems. I mean, it could be the digital divide, where you have people do not have access to the internet, but they sure as heck have access to their cell phones, that have the access to the internet, their smartphones or whatever. So, that's an issue. What do you think on the digital? Let me get this comment quickly. Brownsville is dysfunctional and Cameron County is dysfunctional. Yes, we agree. I absolutely agree with that. What are your thoughts on the digital divide? Is there a digital divide in Mcallen? And if there is, what would you like to see improve?
When I first arrived at STC, Microsoft gave us a bunch of money to tackle this situation that you're talking about, digital divide. And so way back in 1997, 98, we spent about 2 or 3 years developing all kinds of programs and curriculum to make sure that that our students are not behind. I am not convinced that we have a digital divide.
Mm.
What we do have, though, all the students, I'm talking about when I arrived at STC, since 1996, up until now, maybe 24 years ago, all of you have had information technology education.
Mm-hmm.
All of you. If you're 24, 25 years old, you know this. It should be second nature.
Mm.
The only issue that we might have is the connection to the system. When you're out there in the rural areas of the community, you might not have the right bandwidth. But as far as our students not understanding technology, I don't buy that.
Mm.
I don't buy it at all, because I was there. I was the dean for business and technology.
Mm.
We had 20, 30, 40 instructors teaching information technology every single day.
Mm.
So I don't buy this.
Yeah. And you're the expert. I'm not.
Yeah, and even like here in Mcallen, right now that you said about the technology and the service, I work from home. I've been working from home even before it became cool, before COVID. So I've been here, and it was fine. But now with the whole homeschool and homework, working from home, my internet goes off. Remember that I couldn't even log on at one point, Roman?
Yeah,
My
you
internet.
had a lot of difficulty. Yes.
I was in jeopardy of losing my job because my internet kept going off during the day. And it's not like I could go to Starbucks now because Starbucks is closed and it's cold outside, and I'm not going to sit outside in the cold.
Mm.
So when I called Spectrum, they tell me that we are not built for that there's nothing they can do. And I live in the middle of Mcallen. I live right by blocks away from Business 83.
Yeah, there's someone saying that elderly people don't have smartphones. I agree. I agree. You know that there's some folks out there that might not have the smart technology, but hopefully they have a grandson or a son that can help them. I know this individual, and he is starting a company called the Medical Resources Group. And what he's doing is he is giving people the technology to monitor themselves. Monitor your blood pressure, monitor your heart rate. Everything is being done at your home, and you're keeping a diary of what's going on with you. So the doctor, obviously he's working with the doctors, and the doctors can see all this information. So when a person shows up at the office, if they need to go to the office at all, they know what has transpired during the last 30 days, 60 days, or whatnot. So this is the technology that we have, and this individual talked about elderly folks. It's something that I also talked to him about. You're going to have situations where there are some people that don't have the technology. So as a consequence, he has people that not only can speak English, they can also speak in Spanish. And they walk individuals through the process because they will be given the devices to take home, so people can be monitored and whatnot. But you're right. If someone doesn't have the technology, how do they sign up? Well, hopefully this person will have a son, a daughter, or a grandson and say, "Hey, mijito, can you sign me up? I want to get my shot."
Right. That makes sense. And we're family oriented in the Valley. That's one of our pluses. Around this time is usually when we do rapid fire questions, and they're just random questions that come up, and they're supposed to be fun. Just come out with the best answer. I may ask for an explanation if an explanation is needed, but not really. It's just really quick. They're fun, easy questions. So if y'all have any rapid fire questions, guys, please put them up for Mr. Reyna to be able to answer. Okay, my first question is, what is your favorite restaurant that's not a chain in Mcallen?
An easy one. Every morning, almost every morning, I go to Reyna's of Sherryland.
Okay.
And so I go there because they make the best coffee and they make the best papas con huevo.
Oh, wow. I got to try that. And what's your favorite chain restaurant in Mcallen? Because you have so many of them.
I go to BJ's a lot. And I go to BJ's because they have something called a blondie. And it's a beer. It's a beer. Yes.
I now want to try that. Well, I don't drink, but maybe one day. I keep saying that. Mario, you have one?
The Beatles or the Doors?
Oh, come on. You have to be serious. How can I even choose the Doors when I grew up with the Beatles? Come on.
There you go. That's good.
Really? Oh,
Miss
shout out to Doors.
Miss Producer's asking tamales or pozole. That's an odd question, tamales
Yeah.
or pozole. Usually
Yeah.
menudo and pozole, but
Yeah.
Pozole is something more unique. No, I go with the tamales that this lady makes here in Mcallen. What's the name of the lady or the company?
Delia's
Delia?
tamales.
Delia.
Really?
Delia tamales.
I feel those are overrated, but hey, it's your choice. I know it.
Tamales are the best. You know,
Okay.
this individual started selling tamales with a basket. She would go around.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine, look at what she had done. That's
Yeah.
prosperity.
That is frustrating. No, I agree with
The
you.
I
American
wish I
dream.
had her talent.
What's your favorite tamale? ¿Tamale de venado, tamale de puerco, tamale de pollo, or tamale de frijoles? Ooh.
Well,
Please.
I think I want to go with the puerco.
Yeah, that's good. Good, nice and fatty. That's the way it's supposed to be. And those of you that like tamale de frijole, I don't get you. I really don't. It's like, why would you do that to yourself? It's like Shipley's Donuts or Krispy Kreme.
I have to go with Shipley because they're very close to me.
Yeah.
Although I don't eat them. I buy them for people,
Mhm.
but every now and then I'll eat one.
Miss Producer's asking Coke or Pepsi.
I have to go back in time when I used to drink sodas. It would be Coke.
Coke, okay.
Coke is it.
That's it. All right. Alvela is asking your Super Bowl pick: Bucks or the Chiefs.
I lost track of football, and but I do know that they're playing. So because of my beginnings, I was a Kansas City Chief guy. So I like them. Tampa is a new team for me. So I'm going with the Chiefs.
Yeah, they're not a bad choice. Lamar Hunt. They used to be in Dallas as the Dallas Texans.
I'll tell you some trivia about Lamar Hunt.
Oh.
Lamar Hunt is a Kappa Sig.
Okay.
When you look at the helmets of Kansas City, it has almost the initials of Kappa Sigma.
Okay.
So look at the helmets closely.
I never noticed that, but now I'm going to have to notice that.
So I'm a Kappa Sig, and that's why I know that.
That makes sense. Miss Producer is the one to comment Israel politics. Best bakery in Mcallen.
Yes, Brett Smith.
Brett Smith.
They have the best empanadas. Oh my gosh, they're as some people would say, they are to die for.
I like the Brett Smith. I do. They used to make this bread with pieces of pepperoni in it, and I was like, wow, it was really good. I don't think they make that anymore though. Excuse me. Sorry,
what's that?
I don't know. It just had little pieces of pepperoni. It was like having a pizza, but without the cheese. And so cheese could be bad for you if you have high cholesterol. So it was okay with me. Sorry about the coughing on there. Anybody have any questions? Myra, you have one? Your rocker country question. That's Myra's.
I'm trying to change it and I can't think.
It's okay.
Okay, rock or country?
Rock or country?
Well, I'm more of a mellow kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm more like a Julio Iglesias kind of guy, Beatles,
Mm-hmm.
Every now and then I'll listen to Boston,
Hey, that's a good no, more than a feeling. No, yeah. Boston's good. More than a feeling. That my uncle would play that song all the time when he was going into the restroom, and it was really annoying, but I like the song.
It is.
It's like a good guitar music.
I listen to that one all the time.
Yeah.
Boston came out in 1976.
Mm-hmm.
These guys were going to MIT. They were students at MIT, and they just quit school and started to make beautiful music. So
yeah, the good music.
American enchiladas or enchiladas suizas?
Oh yeah, the enchiladas. Yeah, so suizas.
Okay. Okay, this is the question I ask of everybody. Will you pledge as city commissioner at some level you see, we have a taco editor at the Texas Monthly that has claimed that somehow that Dallas tacos are the superior tacos of all of Texas. And so I want some sort of a border wall of some sort to prevent him from coming into the Valley, because how dare you say that Dallas tacos are better than San Antonio or than the Valley tacos? Would you agree to that?
They don't know any better.
They don't.
You know, how can they even think? Just like going to London and thinking they make the best tacos in London.
Eesh,
I've
disgusting.
been to London and they claim they have the best Mexican food there, but I doubt it. I've been there. It's not true. No, no.
It's like, how could you say that? And he actually had to say that El Pato tacos are subpar, and I guess they're even below Taco Bell or something. If I understood him correctly, I don't want to speak out of turn
Well,
and
you know,
misspeak it, but
I
the
guess
guy's
this guy
nuts.
has never been to Renee's. He's never been to Dorados. He's never been to Los Mismos on they're on 23rd. So he needs to go visit those restaurants, and then he'll probably have a different opinion.
Yeah, he's a little beatnik looking guy. He has the huevera on shirt. It's all wrinkly. It's just the guy's it's Taco Texas Monthly. So I really do want some sort of like a checkpoint at either 69C, 69E. Say, hey, if you're that dude, you can't come into the valley, and prevent him. And maybe a checkpoint at the Mcallen Miller Airport. That's what it's called. Okay. El Pato is leagues above Taco Bell. I agree. So apparently, I did not know this, but there's Mrs. G's tacos are the original El Pato. So I'm going to ask, I guess, which is better, El Pato or Mrs. G's tacos? Or are you going to get in trouble by answering that question?
Well, you know, no, I'm not going to get in trouble because I haven't been to El Pato in a very long time. I go to Renee's. Most of the time, if I don't go to Renee's, I'm at Dorados. If I'm not there, I'm at Los Mismos.
Okay.
So, but because you're asking me this question, now I'm gonna go visit El Pato probably tomorrow.
Okay.
And try Mrs. G's. They're pretty good.
Let me know, because I don't know about tacos in Mcallen. I didn't really know that there were that many taco places in Mcallen.
Well, no, I mean, they're not taco places. These are restaurants. They're restaurants, you know.
But they have good tacos, though.
Yeah, they have good tacos.
Okay, Mcallen International Airport.
Okay, we have to ask Zach Cantu's.
Oh yeah, Zach Antu's question is always cake or pie. Cake or pie.
Yeah, you know, I'm guilty. I like cake.
I do too.
Coconut, to be specific.
Coconut cake. Oh my God, you would love my suegra and my suegro and my abuela-in-law, because that's what they love, the coconut cake at all. Guys, if you have any let's move on to actual serious questions. That's it for rapid fire. I appreciate your questions, those of you that were able to ask. Mr. Reyna, when you decided to run for office, one of the issues that's going to come up is term limits. Apparently, that's going to be on the ballot this year there in McAllen. What are your thoughts on this term limits idea of limiting people for lifetime from being able to serve more than 3 terms on the city commission or three terms as mayor?
I don't have a problem with that at all. I think people should go in and go out. I think when someone stays in too long, then your creativity, you are who you are. And, you know, after 8 years, you probably have run out of ideas. So it's always a good idea to bring new people in. You know, when I was in college, they did a study between the Soviet Union, which is now part of Russia, used to be the Soviet Union, and U.S. politicians. And there was no difference. They all went in for 40 years.
That makes sense. Wow. Oscar is saying, I just want to say hi to all, and also Mr. Reyna, you should have stayed here in San Antonio and run for commissioner. I've been here in SA since I retired from the U.S. Air Force 71 and 91. Originally, I'm from Mercedes. I've been stationed at Hurlburt Field and Loring, AFB, myself also. Yeah, that's awesome. Oscar's a frequent commenter on our page, so whenever you're not running for city commission and if you're elected, hopefully you can comment away like Oscar does, because Oscar loves to comment. We appreciate each and every one of the people that comment on our page. We like it. Myra, do you have another question for Mr. Reyna?
Yeah, I have a question, because this is going to be coming up more and more and more, and we were going to kind of refrain from asking this, but I've been talking a lot to Border Patrol lately and people. Apparently, the people that were coming from South America or Central America, Honduras, they're already starting to get here. I was talking to somebody earlier, and it's getting busier at the border. So how soon is Mcallen going to start planning on what to do with this upcoming, surge of illegal aliens?
Well, I think a lot of times the media will sensationalize something.
Yeah, they do that a lot.
Yeah.
Right.
So those people that were coming from Honduras, they were kind of held back a little bit in Guatemala. They were not allowed to go through, and it's not the same environment that it used to be in the past. The governments of Guatemala and the government of Mexico are taking a more active role in preventing people to get into this country, because obviously there's political consequences if you just allow people to come through. We had a change of administration. The laws are still the same. The laws will be enforced. For people seeking political asylum, maybe that's going to be a little bit different than what it was here a few weeks ago. But the laws are still the laws. Nothing has changed, and people will be sent back. I tell folks that when President Obama was in our president, he sent people back.
A lot
of them.
more.
A lot more. So he had no problem. So I don't want people to think, just because there's some a change of presidents, that somehow the border is going to be open. It's not going to be open. I mean, the rules, the laws are going to be followed, and that's how it's going to work. So
one of the things that's in very high concern, because like I said, I was speaking to somebody today, is that Mexico has, I think they're going to decline the T-45, which has to do with COVID. So they're not going to be holding back on other than Mexicans. They're not going to hold them like they were going to do that. So they're going to be coming in, and as far as I know, the people that are coming in are not getting tested for COVID, but yet we had a whole pandemic and businesses closed and our lives changed because of the whole pandemic. But people are coming in from other countries and not being tested. They're being released. And unless they have obvious symptoms of COVID, they're just going to be, let go, not knowing.
Yeah. Well, I think that's obviously that's a federal policy. It's not a city policy or state policy.
The only thing we can do is prepare and know where they're going to be housed or what's going to happen, because.
So, being in Mcallen, I have witnessed all this kind of things. I have been to the bus station. I have been to the airport when they're taking people out. And so if that happens, it's not happening right now. I'm not seeing it yet, but people think it might happen again. So if it does, what normally happens, that people go into some kind of shelter situation. A lot of them do not want to stay in Mcallen. They want to move on. So they go to the bus station and move on. So I don't want to give the impression that Chicken Little, the sky is falling, because we're not there yet. We don't know yet what's going to happen. But all I can tell you is that the laws are still the same. Nothing has changed.
Yeah.
And the folks in Border Patrol are going to do the job that they're doing. And whatever people need to be sent back, they'll be sent back.
Yeah, we already passed about the hour mark, Mr. Reyna, so I don't want to keep you late longer than you need to be with us. I want to thank you very much for coming on the show with us, and hopefully you'll be able to come again. I'm going to ask you one quick question. Would you be willing, if we're able to host a debate in your district, Brace, would you be willing to come on sometime in April to do that debate? Would you be willing to do that?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Great. Is there any particular topic that we did not touch on in this hour that you would like to touch on and put a little bit of emphasis on for us so that we can make sure we get that addressed for you?
Yeah. All I want to say is that we are very fortunate to be in the location that we're at right now, because being in Brownsville, being in Mcallen, we are at the tip of two economies that are working with each other, the Mexican economy and our economy. And if you look at what's going to happen in the next 10 years or beyond, this area is going to continue to develop at a pace that we haven't seen, especially you folks in Brownsville. Look at what's happening at your port.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all those activities that are happening. I mean, you can't build every activity at the same time because there's not enough people to work them.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine once they bring all those LNG activities, all the steel plants that they want to bring. Imagine all the jobs it's going to create. Imagine all this manufacturing that is taking place in Mexico that has to come through. All the logistics that's going on. It's just, for me, I think folks that are in their 20s and 30s are going to have a fabulous life. And the prosperity that I'm thinking about, it has to do a lot with the U.S. Mexico-Canada agreement. I mean, the economies of Canada, Mexico, and the U.S. are converging at a pace that is going to be. You know, I studied all through my master's program the idea of NAFTA and what it would do. It is doing exactly what I studied, and it's going to do even more. So the idea, we need to think about the U.S. Mexico-Canada agreement in a way that it is a trading bloc that is competing against China and its allies, and it's also competing against Europe. So if you study this stuff, if you pay attention to what's going on, you see a lot of companies that are moving into Mexico because they want to be part of the United States Mexico-Canada agreement. And when they build in Mexico, it has a ripple effect because they're building there, and obviously the destination for a lot of the products are going to be the U.S. But there's a combination of building in Mexico and building in the U.S. And you see Tesla come into the Austin area. You know, Caterpillar is in the San Antonio area. I mean, there's all kinds of companies that are coming this way because Texas is prosperous because they have no state tax, and we believe in very little tax. And that is what's drawing a lot of people to Texas.
Well,
so that's, you know, so the young folks here in the Valley, you know, I would encourage you to understand how the economies are working and become part of that economic system that's being created, and you will be extremely successful. You will need to be competitive in this world. You will need at least a bachelor's degree with skills that go with it. You know, they got to have skills, and skills like, you know, information security, some kind of technology, some kind of analytical skills, medical skills. When I talk about medical, you need skills that people that work inside the medical system. Those are the kind of skills that are going to pay. They're paying now, and they're going to pay even more at a later date. So I was the dean at STC for many years. That's all I did. Study what kind of jobs are going to be happening in this area. And if what you're doing, it doesn't keep you up at night, doesn't get you frustrated, then you're not in the right degree.
That's very true.
Really?
Yeah. No.
Oh no!
It's like don't do
I'm
that.
in the right place, and I didn't want to hear that.
you know that's one
You're
of the
not
pluses.
frustrated. It's probably an easy subject.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, Ms. Reyna. I feel like I learned a lot in this last hour. I hope people that haven't had an opportunity to watch this with us have learned something. I would encourage you and your supporters and those of you to be able to share this particular live stream, especially once we're over, on your personal page and on your campaign page, so people can listen to what you have to say. I'm sure they'll learn a lot, as much as I did. And I appreciate you coming on. We're going to do the little end of credit, Mr. Reyna, but don't leave, don't log out yet, and then so we can talk a little bit after the show. Guys, again, thank you so much for joining us here at Real Politics Live. It was myself, Roman, and Myra. We will be coming back. Not with Mr. Reyna, though, for Real Talk Real Late at 11:30. a little bit later than we normally do, just because we had a show at 11 and at 9 o'clock, we wanted to give you all a chance to go get a late night snack or something. So tonight, Real Talk, real late at 11:30. Don't forget tomorrow at 9 o'clock on Friday, Charlie and Company, Charlie Atkinson will be hosting his show, Charlie and Company, and he will have Morgan Graham, the Cameron County Republican Party chairwoman, along with Jared Hockema, who is the Cameron County Democratic Party chairman, to discuss what they want to discuss. It should be lively. I know if the others of you want to go out and party, go out and party. But if you don't want to go out and party, party with Charlie and Company at 9 o'clock tomorrow. And I will be seeing you all tonight at 11:30. All right. God bless, and God bless you. God bless you, Mr. Reyna, and we'll see you all soon. God bless. Bye.